Hello, everyone. Welcome to Quantum Catechesis. I'm Father Joe Krupp, and you are not. And we are back live today, unless you're watching this later than we film it, in which case we're live, but you're not. Now, that doesn't mean you're dead. I might be, because you're watching it later, and after the show, I could be dead. And if I die, then I'm calling Martin Funeral Home or Detroit Cremation Society. And it's so weird that I mention this, because Adam Martin is here. So in just a moment, we're going to be going to Adam Martin live via satellite, except there's no satellite. He's here next to me, but it's still live via satellite. Right? Do they even say that anymore?
They should.
Okay. And you need to get your death questions ready. Not like, what happens to me after death? I'll take care of the judgment part, right, for appropriate fee. This is the guy who will help your family, who will help you set up. So he's here to answer your questions about funeral procedures, stuff like that. So get those questions ready. We're going to go right to them as soon as we get on. But first, I want to let you know I'm excited about tomorrow, because tomorrow, we are going to be in, I always say Detroit, and it's not. It's somewhere else. Plymouth. We'll be in Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge. At St. John there, where we were before we did a show there, and we're doing it there for the same reason. I'm doing a wedding there. Why am I doing a wedding there? Because I'm a priest. So I'm excited about this. It's my third wedding. I think this one will work. I think this gal really loves me, and it's not just about my money this time. So anyway, that'll be tomorrow's show. We will be at St. John in Plymouth, a beautiful, beautiful location with beautiful people, and I'm going to be honored to be witnessing someone making a covenant there tomorrow. But now, for today, let's meet Adam Martin.
Hello, everyone.
So this is Adam Martin, and you know, I've talked about him a lot because I feel like funeral home ministry, and I know you don't really call it ministry, but I do, is one of the most important occupations. I really, really do. And I feel this man and his team are among the best I have ever encountered at it. I think just last week I told you guys that when I was in Hudson, I was blown away by how amazing those funeral homes were there. Monahan.
We've talked about them.
Yeah. And when I met Adam, I knew right away I found a guy who could go toe-to-toe with them.
Thank you.
And oh my gosh, yes. So this is Adam Martin. Do I say president of Detroit Cremation? No, King. Supreme Dictator for life. Supreme Dictator for life.
There you go. I'm sure some people think that.
Oh,
sadly,
yeah.
But.
Of Detroit Cremation Society and Martin Funeral Home. So let's give a warm welcome to Dr. Adam Martin.
Dr. Adam. There's a nice crowd you have here today.
Oh, yeah. Everybody here is drunk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Something's in the coffee, right?
Yeah. Well, we're sober. I'm just on Mercury. So, brother,
Yes,
while we're waiting for questions to load up, I have a couple questions that I don't know if you can answer. Because people ask priests questions like this, and sometimes I can't answer them, and I really want to.
Okay.
So your choices are to answer or to say, I can't answer that.
I'd say I don't have a problem not knowing. So
I want to hear a crazy funeral story.
A crazy funeral story. There are many. My dad talked about writing a book at many years before he died about unique experiences that would have happened. Now, one of the more unique funeral experiences we had was a long time ago. This would have been before, like a lot of things, and you'd have seen this over the last certainly 20, 25 years with funerals and personalizations and adding videos and photos and stuff like that. And so we had a lady that died, and she was a huge Detroit Tigers fan.
Nice. I like her already.
Well, you know, I see where I'm going with the story here.
Oh, yeah.
So, you know, when you're dealing with those places, Disney, sports teams, things like that, you know, they have their intellectual property, their logos, all those things that are very locked in and whatnot. And the family was willing to wait. This was in the 90s, so it was kind of before that was sort of a popular thing to do. And they had decided to wait. They were going to wait a couple weeks and just to get permission from the Tigers themselves. and work with the casket company to embroider the panel and the different pillow and the things like that that are part of the casket with the piping for the tigers, the pinstripes, the logo, and all that stuff. And believe it or not, it was kind of, did it because the family really wanted to it. And sometimes it's nice to have a cool challenge, like that. And ended up having an article in the USA Today about us and things like that. So that was kind of cool.
So her casket had the English D on it?
Correct. Yeah, up in the part that opens up, which we call the cat panel. So that part, if you're laying here, the part that's open up here, usually they'll pin flowers or pillows or something like that. Yeah, up in there had the D. And then around the edge, had all the striping with the colors and stuff. Yeah, we had to get permission from them to do that. It was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
And,
it's not a wild story, I guess.
No, but it's groovy.
Like grandparents and grandkids getting in fights in the chapel. That's what.
Oh yeah, I've seen some of those. We have. Oh, I better not. But one of them that I guess what blows me away is I would have thought you could just do it because you're going to put them in the ground.
Nowadays you can. Nowadays that stuff, like there are some companies that are out there that have those licenses, or sports teams have realized. During that, I really like Kiss, for example. Like the band, there's Kiss caskets and coolers, and they've got their name on anything,
That's funny.
And so now it's a little bit easier because they have sold their trademark or the right to use the images, or however that's technically called, to some standing things. So if you wanted like a tiger's urn, there are 10 or 12 I could probably find. So
no, I don't. It's funny. I'm one of those. I'm a minimalist. And my hope is when I die, we stick me in the cheapest box we can get. And if you got to fold me up, that's fine. It's not like I'm going to be uncomfortable. And Dad just laughed. Right.
So you've had the conversation before, right?
Yeah, you could probably jam me in a milk crate. I mean, since again, not like you can hurt me.
True.
It'd be kind of hard to fold, though.
I think so. Yeah. Oh, do you know?
I think that the diocese may have something to say about your death, unfortunately.
Based
upon my experience with a few priests over the years that we've had the honor of burying, there's a lot. One of the first priests I ever worked with my dad on that we had his funeral for, Father Bell. He would have been St. Mary's in the 80s. I think he died in the 90s, so probably a bit before your time. And my job was to make sure his shoes were shiny.
Nice. Yeah. Even though you only saw half.
No, for a priest, you have the whole full couch casket. So I had the shiny shoe duty there.
That's right. Do you know, my mom always told this story, and of course I have no recollection, Senator, but that the first funeral she took me to, a funeral home, and it was important to them that I know death, right? So I couldn't say I was too scared or too young. Nope, Mom, you need to know death. She's German. So she talked about how the whole way there, she was like, no questions till we get in the car. Right? Because she said, I knew you would have 500 questions. No questions till we get in the car. Okay. That's awesome. So, she said, we get in the funeral home, and I was doing fine. And then she takes me up to the casket to pray. And I got 4 steps from the casket and started screaming and wailing. And Joe, what's wrong? You said Grandpa would be in heaven. Oh, well, he is. What's he doing there?
Yeah.
So she thought that was the greatest thing I ever did.
That's pretty good, though. Yeah.
What's he doing?
I was anticipating that you were going to say something about how, usually younger kids, when they have the legs covered up, they're like, what happened to their legs? Very common.
Mom said I did that. Why did they cut him in half? Yeah. Which is, I thought
but the heaven thing, that's really nice, yeah. Early sign of priesthood.
Well, Crying because I didn't get what I want? Yes. That's a sign of priesthood. But...
Well, you take things different ways, right?
Yeah. Okay. Hey, we have comments and questions. Are you ready?
I'm Scott. It would depend.
All right. First of all, hello, everyone. Zach from Detroit Cremation. Is he the boxer?
Yes. Okay. Yes, young Zach. He was here earlier today.
He is a good kid. And
he is. I would talk up Zach because, lots of folks that are his age, young, this day kind of get a bad rap for not being very committed, hardworking, things like that. And, he's worked for us for almost over 4 years straight.
And I think he's single.
He actually has been dating someone quite seriously for several months, so
okay,
that's
I'm
kind
on.
of nice, you know.
Because I had some.
Just months. It's
Months.
Well, it's
That's
all in perspective.
negotiable.
He is only 22, so
Right.
months is a long time, you know.
Until there's a ring, it's
But
negotiable.
he started in our maintenance department part-time,
Yeah.
full-time, then into the office, then working with families, and now
Nice.
with us down here with
extremely conscientious.
Oh,
I'm
love
super
that
happy.
kid. And well, this person, ready? Zach from Detroit Cremation was amazingly helpful and kind with us when my mom died a few weeks ago.
Awesome.
Massive props. Thank you for sharing that. I feel the same way about Zach.
He's a super good kid.
Oh, I love that kid. Young man. I don't know what to call him. But today I hugged
I
him.
browbeat him down quite a bit,
Well, of
so I got
course.
a lot of names for him.
Yeah, you're his boss. Today I hugged him, and I forget that kid is made of steel.
He looks small, but he's boxed. His dad is a boxer, Golden Gloves. His brother.
I actually hurt my hand patting him.
His brother went to Oklahoma within the last 3 or 4 months to fight and stuff. So they're big in their family. Yeah, it's really cool. I got him for helping out a lot on autograph Mike Tyson.
Oh, wow. Do you know Tyson was at Detroit City Sports signing autographs just like 3-4 weeks ago, and I so badly wanted to go and shake his hand. I saw Ali, and Ali's the greatest. I don't think it's disputable, but I've never seen.
I really like Tyson a lot.
Oh, dude, the combination of power and speed was shocking with Tyson.
Yeah.
I never knew anyone could hit that hard that fast. And I always said that about Ali, but Tyson hit harder and faster.
Yeah.
Ali was a better boxer.
I think so. I would agree with you.
But
on
if
that.
you
And Ali was taller and longer. And if he could move, probably a little float around a little better. But yeah, I would think so.
My God. Well, anyway, I'm sorry.
No.
Okay, question about burial at sea. You
Yes.
qualified for this?
Somewhat, although
All right.
I have not had a lot of experience on that, so my information might be rusty.
Okay.
Or I'll just simply say I don't know.
Or you can make something up.
I could.
That's the good part about being a Catholic priest. You can just say some stuff in Latin. Semper ubi sub ubi, which actually means always wear underwear.
It's like the funky looking D
Yeah.
over at the church.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Semper ubi sub ubi, always wear underwear.
He's dishing on your Detroit D.
No, I wouldn't say.
Do God's people know about this? Should we tell them?
I don't know. No, I don't want to be the harbinger of that, but I always smile to myself when I look.
There's
up
no
there.
hiding it.
No, there is. So, okay.
I always smile to myself when I look up there, and long after you're gone, I will think of you.
That's
so.
the thing. I mean, to me, I did something. I tried to avoid, like, you know this. This was my obsession. This is not my church. I'm not going to do that, right? I've seen priests do that, build their church, right? It's like, poop on you, man. But I did sneak something personal in. So if you go into the church, you'll see above the altar in Latin, at introibo ad altare Dei, and I will go to the altar of God. And it's a specific font, a very groovy font, except for the D on Dei, which is the Old English Detroit Tiger D.
Very nice.
It is specifically the Tiger D.
It does fit quite well.
It does.
In all fairness, we chose the font that included that, so it
Right.
absolutely fits.
Yeah. And then in back, Mane Nobiscum Domine. And once you, stay with us, Lord.
Yeah.
And that D is the Detroit D.
Yeah.
And I made sure, didn't we? I mean, we were like, there will be a tiger, right? And I want to point out something. The first year that our church was up is the Tigers' last year, which was much better than anyone saw coming. And I believe it was us.
I think you're right.
You're leading the revolution.
Yes.
Yeah. One church at a time.
So I wish you guys in the audience would quit screwing around when Adam and I are trying to have a serious talk about death and dying.
Burial at sea, I believe.
Burial at sea or at D. In the past, I think you said this is okay. This is for me, I guess.
Okay.
Yes, it is. If so, what about burial of human ashes at sea? They now have containers that dissolve and release the ashes slowly, much like decomposition at sea. It seems way more respectful than scattering ashes. Do you think the Catholic Church approves? I think this is for me, unless you know the answer. Because truly, I don't know the answer on this. I would assume that if you go with an urn with cremains at sea, I would assume they don't want it to scatter.
No, it would be, there's honestly both. There, if you live on a coastal city, if we lived in Florida or or California, things like that. There are like funeral homes I know who work with companies that will go out on like sunset or moonlight scattering type cruises out into international waters.
Okay.
So I definitely know that. And speaking of a funny funeral story, this did not happen with us, but I did hear a family that told me that they had went and did one of those, and they took and had scattered their moms. And it's several families. Like they get a large charter type boat, and you go out to a certain point with a minister, and it's very nice, with the moonlight and things like that. And the daughters or the kids who were there after they scattered their mom's ashes had bathing suits on under their clothes, and then took them all off, and then jumped in the water and started swimming around. And
in mom.
And that was because of a story of when they were little. Mama would always take them out to the beach, and they would swim together and swim around her when they learned to swim and things like that. It's different. But they tied it together, and
creeps me out a little.
It's a little different, yeah.
We're gonna
so you asked for an odd story, but in terms of like laws and things like that, I think in terms of permission and whatnot, once you're out in international waters, sadly, there's a lot of things. I mean, they talk about the junk and the trash and all those things that are littered all around the ocean. So once you're out that to a certain point, there are not a whole lot of rules that do apply, but there are biodegradable urns that you have that they put, like if you wanted to do something on a pond, like if you own a lake with a property with a pond or something. The only thing I will recommend is that you also ensure most of the time when you put cremated remains into a container, they're also in a bag. Like a plastic bag, they would go in an urn. Yeah. So you also have to make sure that plastic bag is either removed and or biodegradable.
That's a great point, brother. And I think, okay, and I'm going to have to get back with you on this, but as far as the Roman Catholic teaching goes, I believe the Catholic Church would say, should you do that, you should ask to not get a biodegradable urn. I would assume.
I would agree with you on that.
I think so, and I think the church wouldn't want you to bury in the pond. Right?
I wouldn't.
Burial at sea is a tradition, and it's large enough where that body's not going to be desecrated. In a pond, it will get desecrated eventually.
It could, very well.
Yeah, that pond is going to dry up, or someone's going to fill it in, or you never know.
But in terms of what your point of keeping all the ashes together, absolutely, I think you want to make sure.
So if that, I hope that's
or maybe not even like maybe something more solid, like a casket would theoretically sink. Maybe an urn would be heavier or something like that as well. So yeah.
Okay, great. All right. I think this one is for me again. Sorry.
That's all right. Yeah.
Okay.
You want to just go in the hallway?
I apologize.
Lay down next to the dog.
Well, here's the first. This is about dogs.
Oh, well, there you go. Well,
so
I'll just get Marius in the chair.
So don't forget, we're happy to do this. Except for Adam, whose attitude is a problem. And it might be hard sometimes to hear Adam. We had him come here because at his place, it's so hard to hear you with all the coughing.
Maybe that was the joke.
I think so.
I think it was.
Have you ever had anybody put something funny on a tombstone? Like, I truly want this on mine. I'm dead serious. Pardon me for not getting up.
Not that punish.
That's what I want.
Not that level, but little tongue-in-cheek things with like that family jokes that the family would know. Yeah, definitely.
I wanted, and the other one I thought, and my buddy Will came up with this, because Will is the best death joke guy. Will is the best death joke guy I know, right? And that's saying something. But it was, he wanted to put on his, Will Yurkevich, born this date, and then died in quotation marks with the date, and then beneath it, avenge me.
Yeah, I like that. Or the death date within quotations and like maybe or something.
Yeah, it's something he says like, I want to get as many conspiracy theories as I can.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy. I often thought, like when you go to the Haunted Mansion, if you've ever been to Haunted Mansion, like at Disney World or anything, like they always have those funny tombstones. They're like the old West ones.
Oh, sure.
Here lies Ed, a great big rock fell on his head. I thought it was something like that.
Oh, yeah. Here lies Les Moore.
Yeah.
Three shots from a 44.
Yes.
No more, less, no more.
Yeah. Like those, Like we could come up with something, here like Father Joe,
Yeah, well, it depends how I go. Like if it's something glorious, like getting hit by a cement truck. I want that.
I thought it was going to be going crazy, screaming and hollering at the traffic in front of the rectory out here.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Run out there on Saginaw.
poking 'em.
Stop. Okay. So sorry guys.
Hit
I'm
by a
sorry that
cement
Adam
truck.
is being
That's
so
funny.
silly when we're trying to work here. This question, you start off saying, I apologize if this is a silly question. This is not. I know this question. Okay. I was wondering if you ever cremate pets. Oh, actually, I get it. You are asking, Adam. Pardon me. Do you ever cremate pets? I have heard terrible stories about pet cremations where the crematory does mass pet cremation and sends cremains from the mass one back to the owners. I want to know if it's my pet's cremains being returned. Do you mind if I do the first part?
Absolutely.
I've sent a lot of dogs to heaven, right? And what I've learned is if you use a pet cremation service, there's 3 prices, okay? And one is the individual. We will cremate your pet and give you the ashes. That one's expensive. I always choose the second one, which is what you described. Namely, we're going to put a bunch of them in there, and statistically, you will get ashes from your pet as well as others. And then the third option, gosh darn it, I just froze up. I think it's, I know, they cremate, but you don't get the ashes.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. So I always pick the second one because I can't afford the first one, and I hope I don't sound cold. It doesn't mean that much to me.
Everybody has a different level of value.
Yes.
On that. Yes.
So with that, just know that if you ask, they will tell you. But now, may I ask, do you cremate pets?
We do, but we would use a pet crematory.
Oh,
So we would.
Same principle.
So it would be the exact same thing. In Michigan, crematories that are licensed for pets, people, things like that, they all have to be very separated and differently regulated and things like that. But we would just use someone local that we've used for many, many years.
Same
And we would help, like Father Tom Neno, had
I
a dog
love
that
him.
died. Oh gosh, that's probably been about 8 or 9 years.
Oh,
back
yeah.
when he was still at St. Mary's.
Oh, yeah.
And he called us, and we went over to the rectory and picked him up and took him to the crematory and things
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, you're absolutely right on the options for sure.
my dog before Marius weighed 150 pounds.
Dang.
And so
big dog.
when we sent her to the Lord, she just was suffering so much. And we went to Doc Taylor, because my whole thing is with pets, with Marius, any kind of suffering that they can't help, I'm going to send them to the Lord. Because they can't think about suffering. They can only hurt. Like you and I can ponder suffering. We can
Or
attach
see an
meaning.
end to it,
Right,
perhaps.
they
Yeah.
can't. All they know is the pain, right? So I go to Doc, and he's so funny. He says, Doc, I wondered how you'd feel. I'll pay whatever about you coming to the house so he dies at home. And he said, Joey, I'd be honored. But I also want you to know your dog's 150 pounds.
I'm not taking him with me.
Yeah. And I'd never thought of that. I'm like,
This is a good point.
yeah, I had to carry a 60-pound dog, which is no problem. But when they're dead,
No.
that's a heavy 60 pounds. And so we took him to the vet office and sent him to Jesus there.
Well, I mean, you see, with us when we have to move people around, you would think you could get. My grandma was like 4'11".
Yeah.
She was like this big around.
Yeah.
And probably by the time she died, certainly weighed under 100 pounds.
Yeah.
And it would be.
It's
I
dead
don't
weight.
think I could pick her up by myself.
No.
Two people.
I tell you, bro, this is so weird we're talking about this, but I have been a pallbearer a few times. And one of them was for a tiny, tiny priest. And I mean a tiny little French dude. And there were 6 of us, and I was in my prime, right? I was about 27, 28.
Sure.
And, I could dunk a basketball. I lifted weights every day. I was and that was hard.
Yeah.
And ever since then, every once in a while, when I think about how fat I am and how much I need to change my eating, one of the things I think of is, those poor pallbearers. I'm serious. Dead bodies are heavy.
Hey, you're. It's proof that you're more holy than me because I think of what I look like stuffed in a casket.
Oh yeah.
You're thinking about other people. I'm
Yeah.
thinking about myself.
Well, but look at me. I'm not going to improve. You know what I mean? So I don't give a crap about that.
I'll be
But-
like this.
Yeah. Oh, and I'll be ripping on you. Just so you
That's
know.
all
If
right.
you
I'll
die
be
first-
long gone,
Oh,
so
yeah.
it's all good.
Oh, I'll be praying. I'll be like, Adam, stuff like that, just to screw with you in heaven. Yeah. If you make the
As long as there's not like extra people like around to like have to get the lid closed or anything, we'll be fine.
Yeah, well, that's what was the other thing? Oh, stop. Okay, so anyway, so you can take your pet to this beautiful man, and I don't mean to be funny. He would never rip you off. Like that was one thing I worried about. Except I knew the guy. It was Doc Taylor in Hudson, who was honest.
I've had like Father Tom's dog. You know, we had kept him at the funeral home for a couple of days, just like we. Nicely and things before we could get things arranged with the pet crematory. And, most of our team are used to working in and around with deceased. It's part of the job. None of them can handle when there's a dog there. It's kind of an odd break, it's like, the human, it's a mom or a dad versus a pet, and certainly pets are important. My gosh, we have two little dogs. If something happened, we'd all be crushed. But just kind of a funny little dichotomy. Like, when's the dog going to go to the crematory? I really can't handle being here right now.
But you know what it is? I've thought about this because Dad and I watch movies where things get blowed up. That's important to us. Bullets,
sadly,
karate.
There's a lot of people usually chucked in there too.
Yes. Bullets, karate, and bombs. This makes for a fine movie. But whenever, some guy is a gunfight and people get shot, and then if a dog gets shot at, I'm like, oh! Yeah. And I think it's this. I do. I think it's the same principle as him. Again, they can't think about it. They can't deserve it. They can't ponder.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
And I think something about that just breaks your heart. Like if you and I hurt, again, we can think about it. We can attach meaning to it. We can muscle through. All they can do is hurt. And that's just so awful. Yeah. And I think that's it. There's something so innocent.
The innocence, yeah. Mm-hmm. You're probably, I like that explanation.
Can I put my dog's cremains in my casket when I die?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, praise God. Okay.
Lots of people do that. Now, sadly, we've had people who have passed away and then put some of their dogs down so they could be joined together with each other. So
really,
occasionally.
So if I die, you take my dog out and put him in with me. Wow.
But if you died first, then somebody would be taking Marius to the vet to go with you, type of a thing.
Nah, he wouldn't care.
That's pretty rare, but
as long as he gets his food.
It's never happened with a dog. It's only been cats.
Well, cats are evil. I get it. Like, do you know what? Did I tell you about the pro-abortion cats thing?
I don't know.
Should I not say
go for this one? You're not going to offend me at all. Trust me.
So I put up a tweet, and it wasn't like abortion is murder. It was just we should find a better way or something. And all of a sudden, like an angry person found it and shared it with their friends. And I got like 8 of the most rabid pro-choice or pro-abortion, I don't know what to call it, which is fine. It's supposed to be social dialogue. But then, some people started weighing in with, no, he's right. And every pro-abortion account had a cat in their profile picture.
Nah.
Oh, yeah. And I pointed that out. That did not help. I was like, look at all you guys. I don't know what this means. This is literally what I wrote. I don't know what this means, but every pro-abortion person responding is all about cats.
Interesting. That probably made him even happier.
Yeah. Crazy part is, and I just was on to that. If I wasn't so allergic to cats, I'd have one.
I like cats too, but I'm deathly allergic. Awesome. No, I've always liked cats. If I go to someone's house, being the guy who, I have to go home, take a nap, take a shower, and then go to bed and wake up the next day and maybe feel better.
Right.
That's how allergic I am.
Oh, me too.
Cat would be right here in my face. Loving its face against me. And I do like them. I like cats a lot. Don't take that the wrong. I like cats. I like dogs. I'm one of the weird ones that digs them both.
Oh, me too.
But I'm super allergic to them.
For all my joking, I love cats. They are the coolest cat. They are cool. But again, if I'm near one for 5 minutes, I have trouble breathing. I have trouble breathing at 10 minutes. It bums me out. And I've seen cats that are hypoallergenic, but they look like demons.
I have not seen. Other than hairless. Oh, I've seen the hairless cats. They look like little weird demons.
Like when I see one, I wanted to. I'm like, can everyone see that, or is this a vision?
Did you ever see that TV show Friends, where they had there was an episode where they were trying to sell a bald cat or a shaved cat, and they're like, what is it, a gerbil or something?
Yeah. Guys, I want Father Joe to put on his tombstone. Is it over? No, it's never over. It is right and just. I like this.
I like that one.
I want you to remember that.
All right.
Okay, do bodies need to be embalmed to be cremated?
No.
No.
Not at all.
Do you ever embalm them before you cremate them?
Many times. Yes,
Okay, and may I
times.
ask, what's the purpose, what's the difference? What would make you say we're going to embalm them cremate versus we're just going to cremate?
Would always be a family's choice based upon wanting to have a more traditional type of visitation in a funeral. And then after the funeral was over, as opposed to going to the cemetery, and then take the body to the crematory. Yep.
Of course, because the smell comes pretty quick.
It can be curtailed for longer than most people assume.
Okay.
But for public health and different things like that, it's kind of pretty much almost a requirement just about anywhere. And you can get in, there's varying degrees of regulations, ins and outs, and things like that we could go into that would probably bore people. But mostly it's a family choice, and most of the time, if you want someone to have what you grow accustomed to as an appearance of a deceased person in a casket with their makeup done and their hair done and all those types of things, it's very, very difficult. Not that it's not possible, but difficult to maintain that for an extended period of time for a public visitation.
So it's mostly about the appearance.
Appearance and then public health, things like that, primarily.
Dead bodies release a lot of badness.
Oh,
Yeah.
But if you were to
For those who don't know, go ahead.
you can do 2 or 3 hours of a time perhaps
Like
without
Jews
an
do
embalmed
that.
body. Yes, that's pretty common. But if you're going to do visitation from 2 to 8 and the funeral the next day and things like that, I think we'd have probably a lot of dissatisfied people. If
You
we
could
chose
pack them
to.
with ice.
Yeah, they do that. They do, actually. That's not a kid. Dry ice, keeping someone in a cooler for a long period of time.
Does it smoke?
Does not smoke. Sorry.
Damn.
Well, you can add those effects to your
Because you
funeral.
could do that to me, right? Just pack me with dry ice so
put
that
some
there's
LED
this
lights in
crunchy-
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so here's the key. Actually, this ties into another question because someone asked if people choose cremation, does it matter if the funeral is held before cremation? So here's the key. For the Catholic Church, the preference is that you have the cremation after the funeral mass, right? Is it required? No. That's the church's preference. So I think this ties into what you were just talking about. So if you're a person who says, well, I want to be cremated, but I want my body physically whole at the funeral, then you would have cremation followed by the thing with where you fill them with
Embalming. Yes.
embalming first, then cremation after,
Absolutely.
which would also, I think, allow you to harvest, or not you, allow the proper people to harvest organs.
They would do that as quickly as possible.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, they still have to be alive for that, basically.
Depending on the different organ and tissue donation to varying degrees, So, but no, they would want to. Oftentimes they would do that before the person's even released to the funeral home. Occasionally, sometimes at the funeral home.
Did you ever see the movie Return to Me?
No.
This is one of the most underrated movies I've ever seen. Fantastic movie. Robert Loggia was in it, and I watched it because of him. And I love that movie. But it's a beautiful and hilarious. And Return to Me. David Duchovny, Robert Loggia, Tony Bennett. I think Tony Bennett's in it. And a buddy of mine does a cameo in there, Steve Schofield. He's in a bar having a beer. And I'm because of the harvesting organs. Okay, guys, I'm sorry. Here's what we're saying. So you can be cremated. You can be embalmed and then cremated.
Or
if
not.
you're a Catholic and you wish to have a visitation and a funeral mass with your body, that's the church's preference. But she's not saying you can't have a funeral mass with cremains. We just did it today.
Exactly.
The funeral right before the show with this beautiful man and his amazing staff. I love your wife, by the way.
Thanks.
She just shines.
She doesn't get enough credit. She doesn't get enough credit.
No, I hear you.
First of all, she has to put up with me.
We always pray
You
for
say
her.
that's a joke, but
Yeah.
I'm a pretty intense guy.
Oh, no, I love that chick. I do. And she's got a good presence. Like when she's I just like her. But all this to say, we did a funeral today with cremains, and that's permissible. There. Okay, sorry guys. I love this dude, and we'll do this all day and forget we're on the show.
Sorry.
How has COVID-19, I think we're up to 22 now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
How has
really.
COVID-19 changed your services? We see in the news the natural disasters. I'm sorry, I'm going to start over. My brain is really fast today, guys. I apologize. How has COVID-19 changed your services? We see in the news the natural disasters. How are services provided in disasters and emergencies? So I think we got two questions here. One, let's talk about how COVID changed you. And two, if, God forbid, a tornado did the damage here that it did in Nebraska, like all of a sudden we had hundreds of dead, how does that affect you, bro?
All right. So the COVID thing, affected us just like it affected, almost everybody worldwide, really. Yeah. We were considered a necessary business. There was an official title. I can't remember what that was called. Because we were taking care of families and having to pick up people and whatnot. Right now, there isn't any regulations over us in any way for funerals at this point. So everything's, so to speak, for that perspective, sort of back to normal. But, during the times when we had to do masking and people were kind of locked down and all that stuff, we had a time where we could only have 10 people in the building. Then it went to 35 or 50, and then it went back down to 10. And that was for about a year. As a predominantly Catholic funeral home who takes care of, we wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Martin's in Mount Morris being right around the corner from St. Mary's, and there being a lot of Catholics that we took care of for 50 years, you would know, but 40 years ago, Catholic people went to Catholic funeral homes, and Protestant people went to Protestant funeral homes and things like that. So, I would feel bad because, you got a good Catholic family with like 6 or 7 kids, and I'm like, okay, which one of the in-laws wants to stand in the parking lot and watch through the window, Hey, like your picture where, you were standing outside of the people's nursing home windows and different stuff like that. So, we had to rotate groups of people in and out. Thankfully, there was times where we could have people in the parking lot, and we had banquet tables and benches and tents and things like that. From a staffing perspective, we really had to, it did make it easier with less staff because there were less people. Sure. A lot of times we have more staff around because there's more people, and it's just kind of general crowd control. But when there's only 10 or 15 people, it's not like you have to have 7 staff members around. Right. So, but it really, what the long-term ramifications that will come of it, people will swing back to wanting to, do more traditional style things because they had it taken away from them, and then now they realize there was a value to it and they didn't before. I don't know. But yeah, it was pretty crazy. And then of course, not knowing in terms of some of the other things we would do behind the scenes, how dangerous is it to move around a person that died from COVID from my employee's perspective or my own and all those things too, and at the beginning it was completely unknown. There's not much you can do other than chug along, I couldn't have people stop dying for 3 months while we figured it out,
You can try, but if
I had that power, I've told people I wouldn't be sitting here. Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
And then in terms of, what was the second part? The mass casualties.
Let's say there was a mass casualty, 60 dead people suddenly.
So Michigan has a mortician disaster unit. The state does, yes. Most states do. So any licensed funeral director could register with the state, which is kind of managed through the state, and our state association, Michigan Funeral Directors Association, has a lot to do with that as well. Sure. And they would be, activated to go out and assist in that. And in like what happened in Kentucky too, you would see surrounding states probably have some of those people activated as well. We did have that in 1953.
The Beecher tornado.
My grandpa would have had the funeral home at Mount Morris then, which would have I don't know if it would have been the closest funeral home back then. There could have been others in North Flint that have gone away. But, I sadly was young enough that I wouldn't have been able to pick his brain before he died to ask him, nor was I in the business to kind of be intrigued with that. But I do know it's kind of an all hands on deck. And, my dad telling me, remembering that, people would be just in the garage lined up waiting to figure out who they were, where they belong, and things like that. So, each state, to the best of my knowledge, has a mortuary disaster response team. So it'll be a lot of stuff handled with them. Like they just had that with on a smaller degree with, unfortunately, the shooting in Oxford.
That's right.
That was the Lynch family, who has quite a few funeral homes in the Michigan area, has a funeral home there, and I know some people that went over to help out and things. So it wouldn't require something like where you have like a plane crash where there's 200 people that have died or something, but on a smaller scale,
Have you ever witnessed any inexplicable or unexplainable or supernatural occurrences at the funeral home or crematorium?
I mean, there's unexplained stuff that happens all the time to varying degrees. But I mean, I would like to say that none of it I could chalk up to being 100% certain supernatural.
Sure.
I would say that growing up as a child, I would be the one who would be super curious and super inquisitive about many, many things in life. Certainly believed as I grew up that there were UFOs and ghosts and all of those things. And I still am not going to say that I don't. I mean, the universe is a pretty big place. That's the way I say it, okay?
I agree.
But, I mean, now that I've worked professionally at a funeral home for 25 years, and I have never seen a ghost, never seen something weird. I've had weird things happen. Yeah. That as you get older and crustier, right? And so, I would say that I'm definitely not as keen. Now, every single person that's worked there has had odd things happen, like where, you'll have a chair move or something. Then people are like, if it's a round chair, like the one your dad's sitting on that can spin around, they're like, oh, the chair spun around. I'm like, dude, that could just be like, you shifted your weight here and the building is 110 years old and the floor creaked and the rotation of I don't know.
Yeah, who knows?
I can tell you with 100% certainty that my grandparents used to live above, in an apartment in the funeral home, like many, many did. I would go over to her house to play euchre and things with her and my buddies and things like that. There were definitely times when I would leave her apartment to enter the dark hallway to get out of the building that I'd be moving quicker.
Oh, yeah.
And every single person at the funeral home has had the same experience, like where you walk out this certain back door and you're like, I think I'm moving, and you get to the alarm pad, and you're like, and you're out, and you walk to the car, and you turn it on, and you drive out of the parking lot. It's unexplainable. I used to have it a lot when I was a kid. I still have it. Somebody's just not quite left yet. I don't know what it is, but every person that has worked there has. I'm like, you ever had an experience where you're walking down these back stairs and you feel like you need to get the hell out of here a little bit faster? I'm like, oh yeah.
Yes. I'll tell you a crazy one. I was at Detroit Receiving. And there's no data, right? That's like
that's why I have nothing where I seen like a spirit float by the room or anything like that.
I was there with this guy when he took his last breath. And there were 2 hospital employees there. And he did that huge exhale they do, right? And then it was real quiet. And I felt something so dark. And I didn't say anything. Like, I just kind of had my head down. I started praying. I felt something nasty. And then the gal on the other side of the bed, I don't know if she was a doctor or nurse, she went, "You feel that, right?" And I'm like, "I do."
Yeah.
And
that's the feeling and
it wasn't good. And so I left there to go tell his kids, "Your dad died." Yeah. And it was 3 boys. And they hadn't been there at all. That guy had been dying for a week, and I'd never seen them. I checked him every day. And when I came out, they stood up, and I said, "Guys, your dad has died." Right? Because that was the big training. Never say, passed on or whatever. He's dead. And they stood up and said, "Okay, thanks." And they started to leave. I'm like, we're going to have questions for you. And one of the brothers turned around and said, he was a son of a blank in life, and I assume he's a son of a blank in death.
Wow.
Burn it. Quote, burn it. And they left. And that explained that darkness. And that was 99. And man, that's never, I can even now talk about it. I remember that feeling.
It's ominous.
It felt like evil entered the room.
It's kind of ominous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, on an unexplained story, I'll throw one in there. We had a young gentleman that died, and we used to, when we still have, the option to record a funeral for a family. During COVID, that was, a lot of stuff was done, Facebook, live stream, things like that for people. And this was back when we would have been doing it with VHS tapes. You would let the family have a copy. And, not everybody wants to watch it right away, but, you might want to in a year or two. You forget who comes, things like that. And the family started watching it like 6 or 7 months later. And like in 20 minutes into the funeral, it's just going on like normal. Pastor gets up, sits down, music's playing, all this stuff. And then it goes like, like it's fading out. Like, you get like the lines on the TV channel.
Oh, yeah.
And all of a sudden the movie Fight Club starts to like a specific scene in the movie Fight Club. And the family came back and they were like, what's up with this? Blah, blah, blah. This is odd. And Tom, my brother-in-law, works there. He's like, I have no idea. I'm like, we take it out of the player, we wrap it in, put it in its case, put it in with your possessions, and you get it back. It's just kind of like, you push eject, you put it in the thing. Okay, that's this. I got 30 more things to do after the funeral.
Oh, sure.
You move on about getting everything else done. And they're like, well, that was his favorite movie and his favorite scene. I don't understand how the 20 minutes into the funeral, it would just immediately cut over to that movie. And we're like, neither do we.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. So definitely there's something there, but I've never seen anything overt like the little squeaky Bud Light can lifting up off the floor or anything like that.
That was my mental telepathy. I hope that didn't.
I wanted to drink it, but it's a dog toy. So
it is a dog toy. We do have the timing of this one is tough for me. My supervisor / friend passed away last night. Please accept our condolences. Yeah. I'm so sorry. We've had so much death this week.
Last night is very short.
Her husband passed away a few weeks ago. Oh my gosh. They leave a 16-year-old son, Tyler. Please pray for him. So you know what? We're going to do that right now. Jesus, we ask you to comfort the person who sent this message. Begin the process of healing. But first we ask you to be with Tyler. We ask that through the intercession of St. Joseph and the Holy Mother, they may find family again. We ask you to guide these people home to you. And until the day they are reunited, give Tyler all he needs to live the life you've created for him. Amen.
Amen.
I'm so sorry. That's awful. And folks, all of you watching, let's make sure and pray for Tyler today, huh? Let's make this our thing. Jesus bless him.
16, did you say?
Yeah, 16. And Mom and Dad went to be with the Lord within 2 weeks of each other. Or a few weeks.
That's horrible.
Ugh. And then you, of course, whoever wrote this, we're so sorry. Death sucks. I was just thinking about this morning, that we're so, death is a part of life. No, it's not. We weren't made for death. Death is an abomination. And I know that sounds funny, but I think of how we unintentionally, I don't know.
Well, I think it's probably just something that, like you talked about earlier with feeling bad for dogs when we watch 200 people get gunned down, I think that it's just something that you kind of mentally tell yourself to exist.
Yeah.
To get by, because it does suck. I'd like to have my grandparents with me when they died like 30 some odd years ago. I'd like to hang out with them.
Oh, sure.
Play some euchre.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay. Is this the long one?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't read it yet, but I saw you say in point. Okay. So that means we have to get after this before we run out of time.
It's interesting timing.
Oh, great. Okay. My mom's wishes were to be cremated, which you did. Nice. I assume you mean Adam, because She wished to have the funeral mass up in Bel Air, where her and my dad went to mass for 25 years. Praise God. She wants to be buried next to my dad in Shanty Creek facing the golf course. My sister has her cremains, and we have to wait for the ground to thaw. The cemetery where she will be buried after Mass told me I needed to buy a vault. What is a vault compared to the black container she is in now? Wow, great question. Does this make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Oh, great. Can you launch that missile?
Yes. So I'll do it by doing a comparison. When we bury someone, we place them in a casket. And then when we go out to the cemetery, we place the casket in a vault in the ground. Not everybody knows that. Many people do know that. And for people that go to the graveside services, oftentimes they don't even know that. They just see they just see the caskets on this weird little thing, and they assume it gets lowered down into the ground. They don't walk up to the edge to look down and see there's a whole other thing down in there.
Whole thing.
Okay, so the vault is specifically a cemetery requirement, and it predominantly has to do with the weight of the earth. Just to be completely honest, would crush a casket.
Right.
Okay, that even though it's not 6 feet down, it's 18 to 24 inches as much earth would be on top of a grave. So typically,
it's not really 6 foot.
No. Like the bottom of the vault might be close to 6 foot, but there's about 18 to 24 inches.
Has it changed over time?
Yeah. Modern time. Well, the vault. Now they can build a vault that would encase the casket, that would protect it, and then it also protects from like giant backhoes driving over the cemetery, because you buried here, but if somebody dies over here, they're going to dig the grave with a big backhoe, and they drop their little balancing things on it. That's a lot of weight. So many cemeteries have adopted a similar thing with cremated remains or ashes, so that when they take to bury the ashes, the cemetery would require a small little urn, called an urn vault, universal urn, something like that would be a little bit more substantial in the ground than just a temporary container. Or even if you got something that was made of wood, that breaks down, falls apart over time in the ground, or glass or ceramic or whatnot.
Sure.
So lots of cemeteries do require something else. Well, the funeral that we had this morning, actually, we're going to have her ashes buried tomorrow down in Southfield, and the cemetery, now we have her in the nice urn that we had today, and then there's another little container that would be considered an urn vault that would be going in the ground with the urn inside of it. So that's why I did the burial correlation, because it's kind of serving the same purpose.
Sure. So that's the key. That the vault is to protect the urn.
Correct. Yeah. Just like the and when I would talk with families, I would often say, when they were to select a casket in the vault, that they look at the casket as kind of the form. Maybe pick something that if like you're a hunter, you'd pick something outdoors, or if you're a woman, you might pick a color that was feminine, things like that. Whereas the vault would be more of a function, and it serves a job, and it's there for a purpose. And not that the casket isn't either, but it's more so. Yeah. So coincidentally enough, they require vaults so that they don't have to continuously have spots of the ground where it's filling in, and they have patches of dirt. Because again, people would be, I would be, if I, ever went out there every year, and my mom or dad's grave was always covered in dirt and grassy, because it's, slowly sinking.
Yeah. That's what we ran into at Sacred Heart in Hudson, all the pre-vault graves.
Yeah.
Every year we had to put more dirt on them, because the ground sinks as the casket collapses, as people decompose. It's more and more room, and ground is always going to go down.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Does it rise naturally through the ground?
No. Only thing that does that for some reason is tires. I don't know why tires come out of the ground like that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, and I know they run into this in like in Germany, and I don't know if this is interesting, but some of the oldest graves they've ever found, they found in Europe. They found in Germany, because back then Germans buried their people in swampy areas, which always eventually forces the casket up. And they found some incredibly old graves that way, that eventually the swamp forces the graves up.
That happened in those floods in New Orleans, which was now quite a few years ago. But,
Katrina. I remember I went down there to help, and I remember, and gosh, this is horrible, but half decomposed caskets floating. Right?
Yep.
Like firing down, because that water was moving.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. Do you see many organs donated?
think of less than 25%.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, hey guys, I think we should think about
Yeah.
that, right? As a tribe, that's a good way for us to help people and to make a real difference post-mortem.
I could be off by 5% either way, but
Sure.
I think I'm pretty close to being spot
Okay.
on. Because we'll go for, a month or 5 or 6 weeks before we would have a family, and we would take care of about 25 or so families a month on average. Yeah.
So does the license thing still work? I always check that thing on my license.
Yeah, so after someone passes away, even though that would be marked, they still have to get verbal permission from the next of kin.
Okay. And
Okay,
what
and
if
then
I
most-
put
most-
it in my will? Well,
Your will-
that's too late,
Yep,
isn't it?
exactly. Yeah, your will won't
Poop.
be looked at until way after your
Okay.
funeral and things took place. So,
So you do want to make sure, and in fact, if you don't mind, I'm even going to do a little Jesus thing here. You want to make sure your family knows that you wish to donate your organs if you wish to do so. Like, make that clear to all of them.
Definitely.
But
Well,
then-
if they don't know, because by law they just can't do it, even if it's marked down.
Oh, I get it.
Okay, so you died now. Who would be your next of kin? Your dad or one of your
I
siblings?
think Marius.
Okay, probably a good choice. But somebody would have to still give a verbal authorization that it was okay, even if you had it previously marked. To the
Okay.
best of my knowledge, I believe, because we will hear calls from them, and they say we still have to hear from the next of kin. So,
Okay. Because the other thing is, and I do tragically run into this more and more. Oh, Mom wouldn't want to fuss. If you want a funeral mass, you need to tell your family. Because a lot of people, you might be practicing the faith, maybe your family isn't. And I got to be vague, but at more than this assignment. Well, I think I can just say this. My last 3 parishes, I've had situations where a devout practicing Catholic died. Their kids who were not devout practicing Catholics didn't do a funeral mass because, quote, Mom wouldn't want to fuss. Ugh. Now, we did a funeral. I just did it without the family. There's no way, if you're in my tribe, that I'm going to let you face judgment without a mass. Okay? I'm serious. Remember that, particularly if you practice the faith and your family doesn't, let them know you want a funeral mass.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I hear this. And I've said to people, if this is about money, the church will pay for it. This mom, this dad is a member of, no, she wouldn't want to fuss, he wouldn't want to fuss, just do something simple. Oh.
Many years ago, when I would know lots of families much more intimately, my dad would very boldly ask, "Is that what your mom or dad would want?"
That's what I'm talking about.
But it's kind of hard to do
you
that
can't
if you
do it
don't
now.
have that much of a, again, like now, and from my perspective, hey, I know they might want a funeral mass, but by me, as the guy who would theoretically make money, okay, I can't be like, well, you could do this for $2,000, but hey, your mom would want a mass, that's like $8,000 more. I think we ought to do that.
I hear
it's
you.
a real tough spot, and there's been many times where I've sat there and I know darn well such and such a person should be having something at St. Mary's or Holy Family or Charles and Helena or something.
Yeah.
And you unfortunately can't make it happen,
We do have, it looks like, I bet there's more questions, but we're low on time. It's after 1.
It's like the speed round.
No, we got, well, I
No,
don't
that's
know
fine.
how fast you can do this. These look like ones I can do. How's that? Does it help if they pre-plan with their church? I'm going to be honest, not as much. It helps if you pre-plan with him.
Yeah.
Right? Just being blunt.
I would imagine that you probably do not have a place to store the wishes of people if they wanted to pre-plan.
Not really. I've done it before. I did it in my...
Nancy does some pre-planning.
Okay,
good. That's
there's
good.
some
It's hard to
pre-planning.
track that. That's the reason why,
Yeah.
it's hard to...
Keep it fun.
That's good.
I've had a
Nice.
parent come to me and say, I know what my kids will do, and I really do want a funeral, and here's the readings. And sure enough, when she died, the kids wouldn't even come to the mass.
Yeah.
They loved her. It wasn't that. They just don't. Is donating your body to science considered separating the body and not allowed? No, you are allowed and even encouraged where it's appropriate to donate your body to science. In fact, didn't I just do one of these? I think I just did one where I know at MSU once a year We would travel, the clergy would come together and do a mass for all of those who donated their body. Now, they had already had funeral masses. The way it works is they harvest what they need to harvest, or they do whatever they got to do. And then at the end of the funeral mass, the body goes right to wherever they do what they're going to do. So yes, it is encouraged and allowed. It is something you want to check if they want.
It needs to be set up in most instances with the school prior to someone dying. Too.
So there's a couple pre-plannings, right? So I would encourage you, if you're thinking of pre-planning your funeral, you talk to your funeral home. If you're in Genesee County, I cannot recommend Detroit Cremation Society enough. Or is it still Martin?
Yep.
Or Martin Funeral Home. It's the same folks, same good people. And then second, if you are worried that your kids or your family won't do a funeral mass, yes, call. If you're here, apparently we have a system to help you.
And it can be written down at the funeral home too.
Right,
all
there you
those
go.
wishes.
There you go. Right. If you're thinking of donating your body to science, be sure and figure out where you want it to go and work it out with them beforehand. Gosh, you know what's
most
like
of them are real easy. They have forms like right on their websites and
They
stuff.
want-
You can Google like Michigan State anatomical donation and
Shut up.
Yep, they'll
Okay,
take it
there
right
you
where you
go.
need to go. U of M, Wayne State.
No, not U of M.
Well, Wayne State. That's all right.
Yeah, really anywhere but U of M. That's my understanding. It's what the church allows. But all kidding aside, congrats to my Wolverine friends. Right, truly, an outstanding season. Like as much as
Been a while.
I'm excited at least one of
Lloyd Carr was the last era. I think, something like
I was
that.
there. I think when Lloyd Carr remember he had what's his butt struck the Heisman and it was a good team. Whew. Anyway, so congrats, seriously, all kidding aside, to the University of Michigan football team for an outstanding season and for being in the playoffs. And it's hard, but I think I'm going to root for them against Georgia. Look at this face.
Come on now.
I know, but I'll do it because it's right. And try to be less irritating, U of M fans, if you guys win this one. That'll make it easier on the rest of us.
Yeah, well, that's probably not going to happen.
So, with that,
Would you
honestly,
be less irritating if it was,
I never really.
consider
When
myself
we made the
here?
playoffs, I never had a thing to say to my U of M fans.
Yeah, because it's expected, right?
Right, but when you guys finally got to the playoffs, there was all of this stuff from my U of M friends. I'm like, come on.
Yeah.
Hey, we beat you. Bad. It was glorious.
That's the only
But
only blemish on an otherwise
Isn't that
perfect
awesome?
season, really.
Well, didn't I just tell you this?
Yeah, we were at church. We were
It was
talking
kind of
about
the
it.
perfect ending for both programs because for MSU, if you said, at least for me, your choices are to beat Michigan and ruin a perfect season or go to the playoffs, I'm picking beat Michigan and ruin a perfect season. For you guys, if it's lose to state but make the playoffs, you're going to pick that. So I think everybody's happy. Isn't that funny? I do.
I do believe you're right. Yeah,
I think
for
so.
a
Like,
significant percentage of people.
Yeah, it was like we ruined your perfect season. This is glorious, and you get to the playoffs. So the Big Ten still represented, and it's not Ohio State,
Well, yeah.
right? Yay!
Anything but Ohio State's
Ugh,
acceptable,
yeah.
honestly.
Urban Meyer got fired.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh!
It's been quite that's the interesting saga of the year.
Oh, the continuing saga.
Yeah.
So anyway, folks, thanks so much for tuning in. We hope we were able to discuss with you a serious topic, but with some joy, right? Because we
Definitely.
need joy. We do. Death, we want to make sure death always knows we laugh because of Jesus. We do. As it says in the New Testament, death is swallowed up in victory. Death, where is your sting? So I do honor you and your beautiful wife and your beautiful staff for their fidelity and their sensitivity and their joy.
Thank you.
truly.
Well,
And
you do have to have some levity
yeah,
if you're dealing with it.
you can't be that. You can't be too stiff.
Yeah, nice. I'll take that one. Here you go. All right, I'm out of here. See you
You
later.
can't be too rigorous.
Nice. I'm still going with the Ernark, the new Ernark name. That's a good one.
Okay. So Carrie coined a phrase today that the
I
urn.
really do like that.
I do too. So today, this beautiful woman we laid to rest. Oh my gosh, she was an angel. I loved her. What's funny? So her name is Mary Diane Carpenter.
She goes by Diane.
Right, but I didn't know that it was. So I see this obit for a Mary Diane. I'm like, well, that's a lot like Diane. I wonder if they knew each other. And I met her anyway. It's the same person. I didn't know she had a first name of Mary.
Yeah.
But that chick was an angel. And even like crushed by arthritis and on oxygen, her obsession was getting communion to the homebound.
Nice.
Right? Well, anyway, today we sent her home with great sorrow for us, joy for her. But she was cremated. And leave it to you guys to class it up. And they had this glass container that held the urn. It was just so beautiful. And Carrie called it an ashkit. Not a casket, an ashkit. And I have to say that was genius.
It was pretty good, yeah. I'm honestly a little disappointed at myself and our team for having that thing for like 9 years.
You should
and not
probably
coming up with
punish
that
them.
word. I think,
Yeah, I think they deserve it.
I didn't need a reason
except
today.
for Zach, because I think he could punch you.
All right, well, we'll give Zach.
So if you want to add him back to answer more questions about funerals and deaths and procedures and policies, let us know and we'll get after it. But in the meantime, I'll see you beautiful people tomorrow from St. John in Plymouth, where I will be preparing to join a couple in the eternal covenant of marriage.
Very nice.
I don't want to brag. It's what I do. So thank you for being here, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah. We'll
Appreciate
say
it
a
very
prayer
much.
now. What
Yes,
do you
thank
say?
you. Absolutely.
All right. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Jesus, you conquered death. And it doesn't mean it doesn't hurt. But that hurt is contextualized by the fact that this is not the end, thanks to you. Today, we ask for your blessings in a special way on the people of Oxford who are still, of course, mourning. And we also pray for our friend who sent us a request to pray for Tyler. Be with that person. And Lord Jesus, please pour out your grace on Tyler today. And help everyone around him to be family to him as in a helpful way. We ask you to be with Carrie and her family as they deal with the loss of their dad. Be with everyone who mourns. Lord, we can't wait for heaven. But until that day, help us to be brave. Help us to be faithful. Help us to be joyful. All of the people that we love so much that we worry about and all the situations that we fret about, we give to you, Lord, because we love you and we trust you. May Almighty God bless all of you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
God bless you guys. We will see you tomorrow from St. John's in Plymouth. Peace.
Peace to you too. Peace, Carrie. Thank you.
Is it over?
No, it's never over.